Welcome to another episode of Conversate, a podcast where we engage in conversation. In this week's episode, I, Kevin Bender, am joined by Marcus Huff, our Director of Youth and Campus Ministry at Saints Peter and Paul in Houghton, Michigan. This week, we're engaging in a conversation about waiting. We'll talk about Noah and the flood story. We'll talk about Advent, the season of waiting, and what it means to wait in hope. We hope you enjoy it. Good day to you, sir.
Good day. I forgot to use the microphone. But yeah.
They might have still heard you.
I think so. It was good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Well, I got to make sure my posture is all right here. I slouch.
We're someplace new today. We're in your office. We're mixing it up.
You're right, man. Total change of scenery.
Pastor Aaron is out, and it's you and me.
Yeah, buddy.
We get to do this. This is great. So,
yeah.
For those aren't watching, we're currently in Pastor Kevin's office, partaking in Conversate here today.
That's right. Yeah, Marcus and I mean, you and I have had a lot of conversations.
We have.
But I don't know that we've ever conversated. So, here's to that.
Cheers again.
Double, man.
I think we double
tap.
Double tap for a double entendre of I Can't Wait.
Oh, yes.
New sermon series.
Nice, man. Nice.
I'm like, just make all these transitions.
I'm going to try and keep up.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. We're in a new sermon series right now called I Can't Wait, which is a little bit of that double entendre because you could hear that as like, I can't wait, for Christmas. I'm so excited. Or it could be like, oh, I can't wait for Advent to be over because I just want it to be Christmas.
Yeah.
And Advent's kind of a goofy word because I don't think like anyone really uses that outside the church, right?
No, I think it's unique to the Christian faith.
Yeah.
In our seasons in the church year, liturgical calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of Christian church bodies, I think, don't even practice to necessarily walk through liturgical calendar.
Yeah.
Not nearly as much.
Sure.
I mean, we do.
We change our paramounts.
We do, yeah. The colors, the robes.
That's right.
The hanging wooden sculptures that we have at the front.
Yeah, if you've never looked at those, listeners, take a look at those little artsy woodcrafts on the pulpit there. They're pretty sweet.
They are. And it's magnetic, too, which is a fun fact. They hang on, they're magnetic.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, this season of Advent, it's kind of... Yeah, it's actually really cool that we do walk through it and celebrate it and recognize it because otherwise you're just kind of bouncing around from one thing to the next thing. There's not necessarily any order or reason for it, which actually sounds a lot like the things I normally wait for in life. Like normally I'm not like so forward thinking or looking that like I recognize, I'm in this season of waiting right now for this particular thing.
Right.
Like when I think back on my own life, just like long narrative style, it's like, most of it feels like this random jumbling of like chaotic events.
Yeah.
Just kind of spurred from one to the next, and now here I am.
I think, my life can get pretty jumbled up. I think so often we spend so much time, or at least I do, like what needs to happen now. I mean, there are those long-term plans, and we bought our house in last year, and there's some remodel things that we'd like to do, but I mean, there's the let's fix a light bulb versus let's remodel a bathroom. Like you do the quick, easy things first and foremost, and just up front. And I love Advent in the sense that it makes you look forward to what is coming, versus just getting caught up in the business of the whole thing there, or just the like road trip analogy of like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And that excitement as well, too. So, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. It is. It's a good kind of waiting.
It is. Are you a fan of waiting? Are you a good waiter? I was thinking about showing up late. We scheduled a time to sit and talk. Just to do my own science project to see how does Pastor Kevin wait? Is he always so cheerful and jolly, or if I show up What's the breaking point? 6 minutes, 7 minutes?
Ooh.
If I show up 22 minutes late, are we still doing this podcast?
Are we still friends?
Are we still? Wow. Yeah, you put a lot. I just was going like maybe we wouldn't do the podcast, but you're putting our friendship on the line for 22 minutes. We have only known each other for a couple of months, so I guess it's
22 minutes is a big, like,
that's
proportionally.
a big commitment. I don't.
It's a big chunk of our
struggle to
relationship.
wait for our spouses, I think, for 22 minutes, let alone for each other. So
That's an interesting question to think about. Like, yeah, what is your breaking point waiting wise, and also what it looks like for you to break, like in your waiting. For me, like I'm sure I probably would do my best to keep that external facade of pleasantries.
yeah,
But no, waiting is hard, man. I'm not a good waiter. I've never been a waiter, for one, like at a restaurant.
I was wondering where you're going.
I thought about doing that for a while. I think I actually would have liked it, but
I think you would have.
just, people oriented, and I don't know. But anyways, more on the point of waiting. No, man, waiting it's really hard. And like, I just, this last weekend, like part of the sermon that I preached really had to do with distractions, and and how oftentimes people just kind of, we don't like to wait, so let's just distract ourselves instead of like actually like thinking about what it is we're waiting on or waiting for. And that's that totally is me. Like I was preaching to myself, to some degree there, because like it's hard for me to actually just wait towards something. Or like to especially waiting, like I said, in the uncomfortable. If something is uncomfortable for me, I like to hop in my car and turn on some music.
Okay.
And forget about what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of event in that way, but it's a little different than actually like, no, what is it that's uncomfortable?
Yeah.
What is it in like thinking through it, and then, what does it look like for us to wait as Christians? Which I think always is going to bring some aspect of like, hey, God's relationship into that situation. So it's not just me distracting myself or me forgetting about it, but me actually like, no, this thing is, I don't know, it's here, it's messing with me. Let me like wait on God, call on God, pray to him. Let me just like bring him into the whole situation at least.
Yeah.
And that totally reorients the waiting. You know what I mean? Like now it's no longer this like total mess up my week. I mean, now it's honestly, now that situation, whatever it is, has created an opportunity for me to engage in a relationship with a person, with God,
Totally. I think that's huge. I don't know how many people would look at waiting in line and wonder how does my faith change my response to being 10 people deep in a checkout line, or this food was so slow. Food was going to arrive 10 minutes ago. It's not here yet. Or, my spouse we were supposed to leave 22 minutes ago and we haven't left yet. Like, what is my faith-based response to waiting on others? And also, like, when we experience waiting in our own lives for, a lot of times in prayer, our prayer life, God talks about timing, and how timing to God looks very different than us. And I think our prayer life so often is a whole waiting, not game, but like it's a sense of just giving to God, going, I'm not in control.
Right.
I'm hopeful of you fulfilling your promises and stuff like that. I mean, that's the whole redemptive nature of scriptures. Waiting for God to restore what Adam and Eve broke.
Yeah, totally. In all of your examples of, different times when we might wait, like everyday situations at the grocery line, for food, all those things, like they kind of show us that, like culturally, we're not very good at waiting.
Hey,
you pick it up on that?
Is this our new intermission here?
Yeah,
I think we're tying in advertising now.
If they can hear, I don't know. So, folks, my phone's ringing right now. It's playing a nice jazzy tune, and I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to make them wait.
They are waiting.
Yeah, they have to.
That was good.
It just went to voicemail.
It was nice. It was nice.
I hope
was
you could
ready
hear
to
it.
do a whole like radio ad on Charmin toilet paper. I feel like that's just a poignant thing to like try.
Conversate is brought to you by
Charmin.
We'd like to thank our sponsors.
Exactly. But back to Jesus.
Yeah, and waiting, and we're not good at waiting. I always take the shortest grocery line. I go to the self-checkout.
Yeah. Reading in books, do you are you one of the people that read the last 10 pages first?
Okay, so this takes me to a different whole arena, but spoilers, no, man, that's my biggest pet peeve. Cannot do that. That would blow me away.
For our listeners, his facial structure just dropped. Like he got serious all of a sudden. The smile, like, no.
Please don't spoil any, and even if it's like 20 years old,
Wait.
like I haven't seen it yet. I'm really slow on the movies. Don't tell me I'm trying to think what it was. There was some movie where I had still not seen it, and this is like so after the fact. And like there does come a point when like, okay, sorry, like even if you haven't seen the movie.
Oh really? Like are we talking like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader being his dad?
That wasn't that.
That didn't mess that up for you?
I knew that one. Sorry for everyone listening. Spoiler.
Man, that
you didn't even say spoiler alert.
That was that was like 25 years ago at least.
Yeah, so what's the timeline? Like at what point can the spoiler alert warning goes away?
Yeah, I don't know.
5 years?
Our culture today, like
5 minutes
is 5 seconds. And then the biblical paradigm, I mean, waiting so much longer. Like so we're jumping into the New Testament lessons and Jesus being born, pick whatever gospel you want to, but there's a 400-year gap in Scripture. I mean, 400 years.
One page. Literally, last page of the Old Testament, 400 years.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just, I don't know, waiting is difficult. I've been a better waiter, person who can wait and sit in the pause in different seasons of my life. I lived on an island for almost 10 years, and so that was just built into it to travel off the island. You got a lot of waiting to ride on this ferry. It sailed every 2.5 hours. Maybe you got there and it was full and you'd have to wait 3 hours to catch the next ferry.
Ooh.
Or you got there and just you didn't get there fast enough and you'd have to wait all night. I've waited all night a couple times and just slept in my car until I could catch the next ferry the next morning at 5:45 in the morning.
Man, that's like waiting hardcore.
It was. I mean, you just had to do that, so.
Yeah.
Different areas, different places. I've talked to some other people too from Alaska that fly in. One of our college students, their family travels and helps on a mission in Alaska, and the weather changed, and he flew in by float plane, and you just had to wait. You had to wait for the weather to clear up. I mean, I've had that experience as well, where you could fly into a location and it was just rain. And these float planes could not show up. And it'd be 3 days before you could get out.
Holy cow.
I mean, I don't know how much flexibility you have in your schedule.
Yeah.
I don't usually have that much going on in my life, but like 3 days, it throws you off. Just like I'm just not mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
When I change my posture and knowing that this could be a possibility, or also the ministry impacts of how I responded to waiting.
Sure.
I was so eager to get out of my place or be there with somebody. Like we've all had conversations with somebody that has their cell phone on the table and it tings or bings or,
Yeah.
Are they more excited to like check their phone or go someplace else? Can they wait till after what's happening too? I mean, it affects things,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean,
that
I probably would have judged you if you would have got up and answered your phone here.
Well, see, I had a feeling that was the case, and so I was also thinking of the impact that would have. No, I wasn't, but no, you're totally right, man. That's a really good point. Like waiting and opportunities of waiting, like they're not only opportunities to like to maybe engage with God, depending on how serious or severe this waiting is, right? Yeah. Like, because if it's really intense or difficult, like, yeah, probably more likely to bring God into that. But if it's just like the grocery line situation, I mean, maybe you're not calling out to God in the middle of the grocery store, but how you respond might be, somewhat of a witness of like, just patience.
Yeah.
Just like, my world, I'm not so important that everything in the world's got to go at hyper speed for me.
Yeah.
You ever
laugh at those people that pass you like on the highway, you're driving the car, and all of a sudden you get up to like the next traffic light, and there's like a car in front of you. Like they didn't really do that, but yeah. But then you have the flip. So you're like, oh my goodness, look at those people. Isn't that hilarious? And then 20 minutes later, you are that person.
I was just gonna say, I am that person, man. It's confession time.
Around 5:00, when I'm waiting to cross the bridge to go to Hancock, side, the line is really long coming down the hill.
I know what you're talking about.
So I'll shoot through town, drop down the hill, just past Continental Fire Hall, and then sneak back through town and back around. I do double check to see if I actually made any progress. Like, if I actually move ahead of anybody, I usually mentally mark a vehicle,
of course,
and see where I'm at. And I usually am, but did I gain anything?
No, exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of the irony of it is we jump through a lot of hoops. We make a lot of work for ourselves.
Yeah.
When in reality, we probably would have been way better off just like actually leaning into that waiting. You know what I mean? I think well, we know it's a fruit of the spirit, right? Patience. You know, there's like the whole list: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. Like patience and waiting is something that God actually does want to cultivate in us.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a fruit he does want to bring to bear, like in our lives. So there is something to that about like, okay, if I catch myself doing these things, just note it, Yeah.
Well, the biblical blessing of waiting and pause. We recently talked about Moses and how often they're wandering through the wilderness, all kinds of stuff going on. God's asking to wait. The people are thirsty. He gets cranky. Instead of praying, he just whacks the rock.
Never whack a rock.
And God still provides for him instantly. Water flows from this rock, which is awesome, and shows God's grace. But because he didn't wait, because he didn't take it to God first, he wasn't able to enter the promised land.
Yeah, gets to see it from a distance.
Yeah,
top of a mountain, but doesn't get to go in.
I think when I think through waiting in hope, if I'm waiting and fearful of what the results may be, I want to take control of it. I want to seize the reins. I want to jump in. I want to cease to wait.
Yeah.
Like there's the difference of like actively waiting in hope. Like, so we sent cards home this last weekend, I think, for our congregation with Advent and Advent candles. And I don't know about you, but I like lighting candles and turning things on. And it's kind of cool to be able to light all these candles on your Advent wreath, but you light one a week.
Yeah.
And next week you light another one, and then like you're not gonna light all four of them. Because it defeats the purpose, just
right.
What's happening and that waiting, that anticipation of what's coming up. It's trusting in the goodness. I think to wait well, I have to trust.
And I think yes, and I think that's like what God is always trying to cultivate and create are these opportunities for us to actually grow in our trust in Him. It's like it's kind of annoying, but actually, like, no, it's really good for us at the end of the day. This, because I think sometimes we wonder, like this whole biblical story and why did it have to take so long? Or Jesus, right? He dies on the cross, he rises from the dead. Even the disciples are like, all right, God, at this time, you're gonna restore, usher in the kingdom. He's like, it's not for you to know. And he just floats up. Like that was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, both readings from this past Sunday are in that same vein. You got Noah, who highly has to deeply trust that God's not going to make him look like a complete fool, and by building a landlocked boat in the middle of nowhere, and that rain's going to show up. Like, that's all trust.
Right.
That's all faith. That's all leaning in to the hope and the knowledge that God always fulfills His promises.
Right.
Period. Here's not an example where He doesn't.
Yeah, actually, that's a quote, man. That's Joshua at the end of the book of Joshua. He's about to die, and he's like trying to encourage all the Israelites, and he like literally tells them, he's like, "You have seen everything that God has done, and all the promises He made. He has not slipped up a single one.
That's
all of His promises." Yeah. So you're right. He makes promises, and He makes good on them, but we, in turn, then have to wait on the fulfillment of the promise. But that's kind of like, so, I mean, we've talked about this double entendre, like on one hand, like your posture, your feelings about it could be like, this is baloney. I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. That could be your feelings towards it. But at the same time, when you are looking forward to something, there can also be like joy in that, right? Like excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially depending on how involved you are in what it is that's upcoming.
Totally. I've had weekends with friends in the past, and there's a joy in the preparation. We go to this music festival out in Washington and pack up everything we needed for the weekend, and we'd camp out with 10,000 other people and just have a great weekend. But you had to bring everything. Part of the joy of that event was building all this stuff to go, like who's bringing what, and the excitement and the anticipation of being there for that weekend. I mean, if you were to say, hey, let's go right now, it would be awesome, but there's a different depth, different enjoyment I find with that. And I talked with one of the members of our church that was in our college ministry prior, and same thing, we had events with weekends and with friends and stuff like that. He loves preparing to get ready for it. That's a huge joy in what are we going to do, and do we have the right stuff, and just what could this experience be like, and just handling the things that aren't seen too along the way, you know. So it's just but just that preparation time is so valuable in all those things, you know. So, and personally, right now we're waiting for our second child to come.
Right.
You know,
yeah. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. We don't want it to arrive too soon. We don't want to rush it.
True.
We kind of want our son or daughter to be
fully cooked,
you know. So
well done.
Yes. So we're anticipating that. So
in this, you know, like just thinking about again Advent and what it means for us, right? So we're in this season of time waiting for Christ ultimately to return, and that means ultimately ushering in His kingdom. Same thing the disciples were asking. But what do we pray every single time we pray the Lord's Prayer, right? Let Thy kingdom come. And not only in the sense of like, you know, come back, Jesus, like we're here sitting on with our, you know, sitting on our hands just waiting for you. Like, no, like we're saying even today. Yeah. Like it's part of that. We're a part of His ultimate coming and the ushering in of His kingdom. I think like Luther puts it, you know, it's some way of like anytime, I don't know, God's word is read or heard, or the Spirit, you know, is acting through us. Like that's instances of God's kingdom coming now. Yeah. You know, so it's like we actually get to participate in the very thing we're looking forward to, which is kind of cool as well. You know, like it's not a rushed kind of waiting where we're just like trying to take things by the reins, but it's not super passive either. Like there's some activity in there. Definitely. And just a different mindset.
I mean, that was that second reading I was thinking about from Sunday too, talking about Christ returning. He is going to return, and we won't know the day or time or the hour, but be prepared.
Yeah.
Like,
and what does that look like? When you hear that and like be prepared, what does that mean? Like if we don't know that, how can you be prepared?
Yeah. Like what am I think of what do I need to prepare? Like what does that mean in that sense of it? I mean, I think for me, it's the urgency of, you know, living our faith out, not compartmentalizing my faith, not just to be I went to church on Sunday, which is a huge part of worshiping God on Sunday is amazing and a huge part of my faith, but that's part of my week. It's not the only time in my week where Christ shows up, you know, my workplace, you know, my posturing as I wait in line at a grocery store, or how I drive on the road and stuff like that, you know. So orientating myself and putting Christ centered in my life and what it looks like as a husband, as a father, as a employee, all those things.
Totally.
That's definitely huge.
Well, I think too, it's kind of like if you were watching a movie, right? Like some movies will have like these little side plots, you know, that kind of happen, and you're like, they play out and whatever, they are kind of related to the main story, but they're not the main story.
Right.
Well, how weird would it be if you were watching a movie and it's got, you know, it's like setting it all up. It's like, oh man, these are all the things I'm looking forward, I'm expecting in this movie. And then all of a sudden it's just the side plot, and you're like, wait, where was the resolution, for the whole thing? And that's, like we are in this like bigger story, this bigger narrative, like God's story, and we all fit into it.
Yeah.
And our little side plots are important, but like we can't lose sight of the main plot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's kind of neat when you have those opportunities. And I think you hear stories. I think a lot of people have these stories where they felt so like viscerally, so rawly, like their connection into that main story. Maybe like someone they prayed for a really long time, all of a sudden like gets it, or like receives Jesus, and it's like, no way.
Yeah.
Like that's just so exciting.
Yeah.
Because we all want to be main characters. We're not, like Jesus is the main character, but it's really cool when you have those, I don't know, this feeds into the bigger story.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That we're waiting in.
The scripture passage also pushes us in the sense that he brings us an analogy like a thief in the night. If we knew when the thief was coming, we would be waiting and that posturing too. And so when I think in that context, my faith helps me prioritize those things. We talked about earlier about waiting, about, it's easier for me to fix a light bulb than for me to remodel my bathroom. But that aspect of, if we know it's coming, we prioritize things differently.
Sure.
And so
yeah.
And shouldn't we always have our faith be a priority in our life? What does a game plan look like? We joked a couple days ago about what this could look like from a movie scene, and like with Christmas time, like Home Alone.
Great movie.
It's just
classic.
Just good classic Christmas fun. He knows that these robbers are gonna come to his house.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much, but he's
spoiler alert.
He's home alone, and he has these robbers gonna show up, and he knows when they're coming.
That's right.
He creates a map.
And it's a blast.
It's all like these pranks and booby traps and all this stuff because he knows they're coming.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not like, well, I know they're coming tomorrow at 7:00, but I'm just gonna.
I'll just wait.
I'll just sleep. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Maybe they won't come.
I don't think they'll come. So, I mean, in the same way, Christ is saying, I am returning. Prioritize. Like, don't be left waiting. Like,
yeah.
Like, if you're going to be robbed, lock your doors. Like,
sure.
Get your map out, and Macaulay Culkin it, and just like be ready for the situation. And what does that look like? And I think that orientation of our life and what we're doing and living in that anticipation of Christ's return,
totally
out of him fulfilling his promises in our life, not out of fear, out of the grace that he gives us. So, I mean, because fear is a great motivator.
Yeah, totally.
It's a crazy motivator. Like, I could be very fearful that Christ is returning, and therefore be so ashamed of my sins,
right?
And live in that moment. But Christ always shows up and says, "Those things don't define you."
Yeah, he says. I mean, he literally says, "Fear not."
Yeah.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's huge as we wait for Christ's return, as we anticipate this Christmas season. I don't know, each season of our life, this Christmas is going to look different than other Christmases. Thanksgiving looked different for a lot of people.
Totally.
I mean, you guys had your first Christmas in the UP, or Thanksgiving. You'll have a Christmas in the UP as well. But,
right.
Some people had a lot of family. Some people weren't comfortable with family. It looks different, and some of it's going to be busy, and maybe a year with a lot of gift cards and no real presents because no one wants to go to the store and get them.
True.
So,
yeah.
But each season God still fulfills his promises consistently. That stuff doesn't matter.
And don't get wrapped up or sidestepped or distracted with those side plots too. I mean, like all of the consumerism and like rushing around and buying as many things as you can to have the perfect Christmas, all that. Right. That's a side plot. Like, okay, I mean, it could be fun, and it's not a bad thing. Like, celebrate, have a good time, right? Like, be with whoever you can be with, but like, remember the main narrative and then even engage in it, like you're saying, like with your buddies, in that trip out to the gorge. Like you can even talk to God about this stuff. Like, hey man, you said you're coming back. I'm excited for that. Like, totally. How can I like help me, guide me, God? Like, can you show me how I can prepare? Open my eyes to maybe opportunities that I can be waiting in right now, and see these opportunities.
It's in those seasons of waiting and longing where you need God to show up that we're the closest to God. I feel like
totally
it's in those hardships that we're closer, and we've had those conversations on and off as well too. And that's huge. I mean, those quick moments, like you just have those little touch points with God are great, but those moments with that yearning, like
what's
God show up.
It's Noah in the ark again.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's hopeful that it's going to rain, so he doesn't look like a weirdo in the woods. But then he's as hopeful that he dries up all this water.
Yeah.
That everything subsides, and so that he can reestablish life on Earth again.
Right.
Like, there's even like the excitement of sending out a dove and coming back with a branch, and then waiting, and then sending out and doesn't come back and going, oh, I must be okay now.
Yes.
It's like, I can't imagine
finally
that long and like you wait another week. I mean, I'd be sending out pigeons or birds or anything.
Like, why did I only collect 2?
I check every like 2 hours. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many times I look at stuff I'm grilling or cooking in the oven, like and take peeks at it. Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Yeah, right.
It's like our kids on road trips. Like,
Watch
are we
pot
there yet?
doesn't
Are we there?
boil.
Nope, not yet. Just wait. So,
well, Marcus, I'm going to do my best to wait in hope this season for Christmas. I'll try not to be that crazy guy on the roads. Sorry if I cut you off already here in Houghton. I'm working on it. City boy at heart.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's been fun chatting with you, conversating.
You too. Look forward to more waiting and hope and just anticipation of Advent. It's a really cool season to lean into and just encourage others to lean into it and just be aware of others and where they're at, that they could use that support and encouragement and be with them in this season of Advent.
Amen, dude.
Awesome.
Hey. Cheers.
Have a good afternoon.
Take care, guys.